Active Mindset Podcast. We are sitting here in 2024. We haven't recorded for a few weeks because we have been hustling and bustling and Christmasing and doing all the things.
New Yearing, family timing.
Yeah, but we're going to get back at it, right? So New Year, we want to talk a little bit about what people are projecting this year is going to be like, right, in the real estate world. So we are excited for this year. I think we feel a lot better about this year than last year, probably.
Yeah, going into this year, there's definitely a more positive vibe.
We've got a lot of, what do they call them, the projections from some of the major real estate companies and groups out there. A lot of those projections are good. They're positive. The outlook's looking good, right? I think you've got some of the specifics there. Why don't you tell us kind of what that shakes out like?
Yeah, so, first and foremost, as we start a new year, everyone wants to know, like, what is this year going to look like? What do we think? And I like to start off with, like, this is what, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, National Association of Realtors, Mortgage Bankers Association, et cetera, kind of what they forecast the year looking like. And so first thing is from a transactional nature. So how many homes are selling on the market? They are anticipating a slight uptick in the number of sales. I actually think it will be more than a slight uptick. I would hope as prices, as rates come down, I think number one, you'll see more inventory because more people will be willing to let go of the home that they need to let go of.
Yeah.
And then more people are going to be comfortable to reach out and purchase. So they anticipate a slight uptick. I think it was literally less than 2% would be kind of the average. Less than 5%. And I would think it's probably going to be a 5 to 10% increase in total transaction volume. So that would be my thought on that.
Yeah. And let me just add this, right?
Sure.
Like we think so transactions would be up, but we're still talking about like home appreciation prices still projected to be up, right?
Yeah, that's point number 2. So when they were asked about home appreciation, that number was still positive across the board from every one of those groups I mentioned.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that were all kind of in the 2% range. I forget one of them had like a higher figure, like about 4%. But the interesting thing is that, these people who have been crying for a crash or saying, oh, this crash is coming in real estate because of X, Y, or Z, I just don't see it. And this last year, as bad as things were, for prices to stay steady like they did was a telling sign. So this year, you're going to see as rates start to come down, there's going to be even more reasons why people won't panic sell.
Yeah.
And so most people are forecasting probably a 2% appreciation.
Yeah. Definitely not going down. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? Because I think right now they talk about the people who are frozen in their mortgage, right? That are just, we're never selling, we're never moving. There's a lot of people out there that have that mentality. I think that there's going to be a tipping point, right? And I don't know at what point that is, at what interest rate those people feel comfortable selling, unlocking all that equity, and then buying another home. But it's going to come. And I think once that mentality, or I guess once that tipping point hits and it breaks, I think it's going to be like a dam breaking. And you're going to have a lot of people moving into the market as buyers and hopefully some more inventory coming onto the market.
I would speculate that a rate starting in the 5s is going to create the initial flood.
Some of that, yeah.
The initial kind of cracks in the dam, so to speak. But then I would say that when that rate starts to touch, there's a 4, it starts with a 4, I think the full-on frenzy. And the reason why I say this, guys, is because if you rewind the tape back, it reminds me a lot of like 2017. Because rates were in the 5s in 2017, and it was just kind of this, like we'd kind of been climbing. Yeah. Like we dipped into the 4s for a hot second, and then it kind of went back into the 5s, and it cooled things off. And then as soon as it turned and it was a clear sign that rates were going to be dropping, transaction volume picked up in 17, picked up in 18, gained steam in 19, and then 20, COVID happened, and everyone was like, oh, crap, what's going to happen? We had such an awesome run. And everybody kind of thought that it was just going to be this major pullback because of COVID. And instead, the exact opposite happened. It was like shark-infested waters. So I feel like 2024 is probably going to be a very 2017-ish vibe
Yeah.
2017, 2018 vibe for me. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And right, like I still think that sellers post, the COVID frenzy, right? Sellers are starting to get a little more realistic. I think that you've got the people who were just listing at whatever price and getting that price, like the leftovers of those kinds of people that were just listing it really high and letting those homes sit, they're kind of getting a little more realistic. They're dropping those prices. They're willing to wheel and deal now. So you've at least got these people who have the unrealistic price expectations. You've got them kind of weeded out. Mm-hmm. I think like in my neighborhood, when people have sold, they're coming up with realistic prices, and those homes are transacting pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we get more of that. Hopefully those rates start to come down in conjunction with that. Realistic sellers and rates coming down. I think it could really turn it on, and we could have a pretty great year real estate wise. So.
Yeah. The interesting thing, too, that I've seen at the end of this last year and kind of moving this year is just the amount of people that are doing cash out.
Yep.
It's kind of like it's reached to this point where people kind of can't wait any longer, and they're like, oh, I'm staying in this house for at least another few years because of the current environment. So, these people they're wanting to tap into that equity they have. And, so we're seeing HELOC loans pick up. People who have investment properties that they've owned free and clear doing cash out refis to access some capital and to buy other properties or do other things. So that's kind of a lot of the nature of the businesses right now. But I think as rates continue to dip, you're going to see more of just the traditional people buying single family homes for their primary residence.
I like it. I think this year's going to be great. So
high five for that. Up top.
Mortgage world should be awesome.
Let's go.
A lot of opportunity out there. There's just if you're a hustler, if you're a grinder, if you're a real estate agent, if you are just out there moving and shaking, there's lots of opportunities. So they say mortgage guys are crypto guys.
I've heard that.
Does that fit?
It fits for us.
It fits for us. We have been in the weeds the past few weeks.
Not
maybe
deep enough. I mean, I wouldn't say the weeds. We haven't got quite into the weeds. I think we're still in like the murky water.
The murky water.
Let's get down in the weeds though. That would be real fun.
Yeah. So Jordan's a little more crypto than I am, but he's pulled me into it as of late. So
not financial advice.
This is not financial advice, but we've had a pretty good run up here. Like just in the last 2 months. Has it been 2-3 months that kind of Bitcoin started taking off?
Yeah. Yeah, last
because we were at we were kind of right around 30 there for a while. Bitcoin was at least, right?
Well, Bitcoin during 2023 started out at like 17,000 and finished at 45,000. So that's a pretty amazing run. If you bought the bottom, most people probably didn't. But I heard a stat this last week that it said something like 80-something% of crypto holders or Bitcoin holders are now positive. Because, I mean, it was the all-time high, $69,000 or whatever, yes, but so many people that didn't buy the top. But.
Yeah, and even if they did buy the top, like the people who are down are the people who bought the top and then stopped.
Yeah.
Right?
I did buy the top. I'm one of those guys. I didn't mean I bought I bought a little bit of the top, but I always buy, so.
Yeah, but that's the right way to do it, right? If you're always buying... If you bought the top, but you also bought the bottom, you're right there in the middle, and you're up. You're sitting pretty right now. So, no, there's been a lot of chatter about crypto right now. Bitcoin, there's a Bitcoin ETF that the SEC, well, I guess 11 ETFs that the SEC just approved last week.
Yeah.
And then we've been on like a whipsaw, right? A little bit of whiplash. Bitcoin spiked and then has subsequently... I wouldn't call it tanked, right? But it went up 20%, right? Real fast. And then it dropped 20% pretty fast. And now we're kind of floating in the middle there. So.
I kind of know where I want to go with this. So there's a couple things like, number one, just talking about the spot Bitcoin ETF, just so people understand, like, well, why didn't it just go to the moon like everybody talked about? Well, there's another account that was the GBTC Trust that had millions and millions of dollars locked up that there was no market for the people to be able to sell, and so they've been holding Bitcoin forever. And as soon as the spot market became they were then able to sell and had an exit. And so if you were someone who invested in Bitcoin and you were at $25,000 years and years ago, you know, you now had a chance to sell at $45,000 and people took that.
Yeah.
So there was some liquidation, but the overall positive inflows, total inflows into Bitcoin that day were like 4.5 billion. So it's actually a lot of, some people are saying, oh, there was a failure. It's like, actually it wasn't. I mean, it was actually a pretty resounding success considering.
And wasn't it? It was even then that so Coinbase is acting as like the custodian of all these orders or these ETFs.
Yeah.
So when they want to buy Bitcoin, essentially they're having to transact through.
Well,
Coinbase, right?
they're not buying it. So they're buying it what's called over the counter. They're not buying it directly on the marketplace or the exchange. And so what that means is like Coinbase holds a boatload of their own Bitcoin, and so they are actually selling kind of their own Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It's almost like a private sale, even though it doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. But,
as far as I understand.
But essentially that purchase of Bitcoin doesn't immediately impact the market, right? Now,
just the supply of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right.
But what I'm saying is that if Coinbase sold the Bitcoin they had on hand rather than transacted it on the open market, the demand that the ETFs created really didn't hit the market, right?
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Essentially, Coinbase's balance sheet just shifted around.
Yeah.
And so when Coinbase decides they need to re-up their balance sheet, or they want to have that amount of Bitcoin that they had previously, they have to go and buy it, right? That's when that demand essentially hits the open market, and potentially we see the price action from that. But they're probably strategically going to put that in when the time is right.
Yeah, I would guess. So. I mean, the interesting thing about crypto and stuff is you got to look at everything from kind of a long-term lens. You can't look at it the price action for the last 24 hours or whatever. I mean, unless you're sitting there and you're day trading Bitcoin, which if you're a day trader, there are better things to trade in the crypto world than Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's only 21 million to be minted. And you have the halvening happening again here in April. Like, there's the scarcity is what's going to happen. And so when you get to a point where less and less people are willing to put their Bitcoin on exchange and sell it, and it becomes so valuable that everyone holds it, that's when we're going to see the true moonshot.
Yeah.
You know, you got Kathy Wood from ARK Invest, and I really like her take. She's been in crypto world for basically a decade. Her fund's been in it, I think, since 2015 is when they really started getting involved. But she updated once the spot ETF was approved. She issued her base case for 2030, so 6 years from now, which 2030 sounds like forever away, but then you're away
right around the corner.
6 years from now. It's not a long
Yeah.
time. And her worst case scenario base case is 600,000 per Bitcoin. And her high end base case, so her range is 1.5 million per Bitcoin. So we're talking 600 grand to 1.5 million in 6 years. So you're talking about buying an asset today for 40 something thousand, that in 6 years,
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking well over a 10x from here.
Jordan,
and I don't know many investments that
we haven't bought enough.
We are never bullish enough, my friends. So anyway, that's not financial advice, but that's just what people are saying. And Kathy, I mean, go look her up. Kathy Wood, ARK Invest. You watch her hot takes, and she's got some hot ones.
So, and she's got one of the ETFs, right? One
of
the ETFs
ARK
is
Invest.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. We saw her at the Grant Cardone 10X.
Oh, you did?
She was really cool.
Oh yeah, she's great.
Yeah, she loved Tesla too. She was all about it.
She's kind of made her name for being the fund that really likes kind of like market disrupting technologies.
Yeah,
that's kind of her vibe. And like the reason why ARK Invest, it's kind of I think it's a play off of like Noah's Ark a little bit.
Yeah,
like the changing world. So speaking of that, can I transition?
Let's go.
So everybody knows BlackRock, right? Big bad hedge fund in the sky. We know what they did in the real estate world, and they drove up the prices of single-family homes, specifically here in the Phoenix, Arizona market. BlackRock bought like crazy through their partnership with Invitation Homes and other outfits. They bought a lot of the homes. So about 4 years ago, Larry Fink had a change of heart. He used to hate crypto, used to bag on it all the time, and all of a sudden the dude changes on it. This last week, this guy, manages the most money in the world, right? he came out and he basically talked about, this is a term that's going to become familiar to people over the next few years. He talked about the tokenization of everything. Okay. So what's amazing about cryptocurrency, currency is a stupid name where it came from, but it's really about cryptocurrency it's built on a blockchain. It's a blockchain secure technology. And the funny thing is you've got guys like Gary Gensler, the head of the SEC, and says, oh, these criminals use it and all this kind of stuff. It's a public ledger. You literally can see who did what on the blockchain.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some coins that are masked, so to speak,
Yeah.
that people could use and hide their identity, but Bitcoin is not one. So that's what's so funny. But anyways, my point is, Larry Fink has been on doing interviews talking about the tokenization of everything because it validates 100% everything. So he's talking about tokenization of stocks, of real estate, of every kind of asset class you can think of is going to transition into this Web 3.0 tokenization blockchain technology.
That's awesome.
And so to think that Bitcoin's a fad that's just going to go away and go to zero is absolutely false. They're talking about rolling out of ETFs. They're putting in applications. They already have one for Ethereum, which will probably be huge.
Yeah.
But then you got to start looking at what other blockchain technology or coin is going to be the winners and losers in this next round. But it's like the wild, wild west. It's like the web, the .coms of the 2000s. Not everybody's going to survive, but there's absolutely going to be this play for this transition to blockchain technology.
Well, like, I've fought you a little bit on this, right? But where I totally agree with you
And
is
lost. Did you admit defeat?
No. When it comes to its use case as a currency, I have some beef with it, right? But like tokenization, like think of like social media validation, right? Like there's so much spoofing of accounts. There's so much fake, just fake stuff out there.
Everything's fake. You go watch any cryptocurrency video like on YouTube, the ads that are in between those, they're all fake. They're all AI generated fake ads.
So,
it's crazy.
We're like, you got to think of like what technologies, what things are going to be useful in the future, right? But it's like, man, if you could have everyone's Instagram account validated on the blockchain, right? To where every single post, you know who it is, right? There's no more, whatever post it is, and then people, or whatever account it is, right? Someone popular has 2 million followers, and then there's 17 other accounts that have basically the same thing, but with a period before or one after or something in the middle. And so people get scammed that way, or they think they're engaging with the real person and they're not. So social media validation, or just the ability to validate those kinds of posts, is going to be huge. Anything that needs to be transacted in the real world, but validated. Think of real estate, right?
I think real estate
titles.
Think about car loans, car titles, boat titles. You don't need to wait for some piece of paper in the mail.
Think of this, warranties. Let me register your warranty. This is like, I always hate, like, maybe you want to buy something used, or you want to sell something brand new. It's still under warranty. Aside from a car, which is a little more streamlined with the manufacturers, but like, you've got a Samsung TV and you want to sell it, and it still should be under warranty, right? Like,
it's minted on the blockchain. Here's your warranty.
Here's your warranty. I'll transfer it to you, right? So there's a lot of like technologies that would be really useful. And so when companies decide how they're going to do that, right? Like Samsung is going to need a blockchain to handle their Samsung warranty capabilities, right? Or how they're going to validate those and transfer those and handle those. There's a company that's going to win that contract to do that for Samsung, right? So right now we're all kind of like placing our bets with our dollars right now as far as what projects we think are going to solve those problems and probably be monetized at some point in the future.
Yeah. Well, even think about real estate. Like, let's say, we're working on a purchase transaction with you guys and we're saying, hey, you got to close, you got to put your down payment funds, you've got to wire those to title, but make sure you go to the bank before, 2 o'clock because the wire cutoff time's 2:30, and if you miss it, you're going to miss your close of escrow and it causes all these problems.
Yeah.
Because for some stupid reason, the SWIFT banking system takes hours to process a wire from one bank to another.
And they only operate out of New York on New York time.
Guess what? XRP works on a ledger it processes transactions in under 6 seconds. You want to roll and run that transaction on Solana, it's literally like 0.4 seconds. I mean, there's no reason this old antiquated system, the Swift system and all this other stuff, we're riding around in horses and buggies compared to the technology that exists for financial markets where everything can be done immediately.
Yeah.
And so to act like, I just am saying this for anybody who might be watching this that thinks that cryptocurrency and this blockchain technology is a fad or it's going to go away or it's going to go to zero, you if not already, in short order, and I'm talking could be years or months away, not decades, you're going to look back and regret it and be like, oh man, I missed the boat, because absolutely it's going this way. And the proof that BlackRock and Larry Fink is now out publicly discussing the tokenization of everything should have you being on like, oh wow, how do I front run this? And right now you front run it by being an investor in multiple different tokens. Just do your own research. I love it.
What's the acronym? DYOR?
Yeah.
Yeah, they always type that. If you're ever on a chat group for crypto.
Yeah.
DYOR, but bonk going to the moon.
Ride those meme coins.
Moonshot. Well, cool. Well, I think this year's going to be great. I think there's a lot of cool things happening. I think this year's probably going to be one for the ages. I think we're going to...
We got so much going on.
We've got all the crypto stuff going on in the world. We've got a soft landing, potentially, that's going to be solidified. We're hoping. The potential for rates to be coming down. But we've also got war going on in the Middle East. Really, really high likelihood that's going to impact us here with just energy prices and other items. And we've got an election going on that is going to be probably pretty interesting, and I think a lot of people are pretty polarized about this. And
yeah, we got the Iowa caucus tonight.
Keep your head on a swivel. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we got that. We got there's new banking regulation guidelines that take effect here in short order regarding liquidity tests for banks. That could cause a lot of cracks. So don't be surprised if you wake up one morning hearing about bank failures.
Oh gosh.
So 2024, mark that. It should be. We have an eclipse coming this year. There should be one to be
April?
on your calendar. That's in April.
April. That's going to be a good one too.
April 10th, I think.
Get ready, guys.
We're gonna have a lot to talk about. It's gonna be fun.
Hopefully
business is booming. Don't be shy.
What is it? Signing off. Your favorite mortgage crypto conspiracy theorists.
We didn't even get into any conspiracies. Those
No.
are all facts. But we will dive into some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with all, we'll get into it.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully you made it this far. If you didn't, you should feel bad. But
You should.
follow, share this with your friends, like, subscribe, whatever it is. We'd love your support.
I'm sharing it right now. Hold on. Just kidding.
Thanks.
See ya.